Trust repair.
Although there are many tools to help organizations maintain trusting relationships, it is inevitable that at some point trust will be broken. As the trustor, an organization may be harmed by another party and will need to investigate whether or not to reestablish trust. On the other hand, an organization may have violated another party's trust and undermined its own trustworthiness. In the following section, we discuss how trustors and trustees can manage the aftermath of a violation. Specifically, we examine how a trustor can evaluate a trustee's behavior after a negative outcome in a trusting relationship, and how a trustee can reestablish perceptions of trustworthiness after a violation. Organization as trustor. Organizations often deal with instances where their willingness to be vulnerable leads to negative outcomes. As just one common example, employees are often trusted with money, property, and sensitive data belonging to the organization, yet recent studies suggest that the annual loss in the United States due to employee theft stands at $994 billion. 53 Somewhat ironically, trust creates the potential to enable the very harm one seeks to avoid. 54 The willingness to be vulnerable to certain risks in a relationship indicates the possibility that confident positive expectations will not be fulfilled. An attribution analysis is central to understanding how an organization should proceed when such negative outcomes occur. 25 After a negative outcome in a trusting relationship, should the organization partially or completely restore their willingness to be vulnerable to the trustee again, or should they take other steps, sever the relationship, proceed under more guarded terms? Our analysis indicates that trust in another is largely a matter of assessing that party's trustworthiness, and the ease of that assessment increases in proportion to that party's transparency. To the extent that the other party is perceived to provide clarity, disclosure, and accuracy in regard to the negative outcome, this enables a more accurate trustworthiness evaluation. Lower transparency calls for more careful and thorough scrutiny, and might even call into question one or more trustworthiness dimensions. At any rate, when the result of the organization's trust is a negative outcome, the first order of business is to determine that outcome's cause. The suspected cause might be the trustee's ability, benevolence, or integrity, or some other cause, for example, some other entity or situational factor. 56 Although there may be an automatic tendency to regard the trustee as culpable, there should be a data-driven process to determine whether or not the cause actually implicates the trustee. The possibility of some other cause leading to a negative outcome in a trusting relationship recognizes that in some cases, the trustee is not to blame and therefore trustworthiness should not be impugned and subsequent trust should not be withheld. If the cause of the negative outcome is determined to stem from the trustee, the next step is to determine if this negative outcome is due to deficiencies in ability, benevolence, or integrity. 57 At this point, a negative outcome in a trusting relationship can be properly labeled as a trust violation. The perceived cause, ability, benevolence, or integrity, is then evaluated in terms of controllability and stability. 58 The degree of controllability should be considered because even though a cause may be related to a trustee, the trustee might have little or no control over the outcome. To the extent that this is the case, it mitigates the damage to the trustee's trustworthiness, as well as the degree to which subsequent trust should be withheld. Stability refers to whether the cause is due to permanent and unchanging causes, or to more temporary and fluctuating causes. Stability is especially crucial to understand in the context of trust repair since it is the primary driver of future expectations. A negative outcome due to a permanent cause leads one to expect the same result in future situations, so subsequent trust should be withheld. Isolated incidents caused by temporary or changing circumstances indicate relatively stronger prospects for repair. If the cause of the trust violation is deemed to be some shortcoming in ability, it should be noted that some forms of ability are not under volitional control, For example, general cognitive ability, physical coordination 5-9, whereas others are, for example, skills and competencies that can be developed over time. Similarly, aspects of abilities such as general cognitive ability or aptitude are highly stable over time, whereas skills and competencies are relatively less stable insofar as they can be developed over time through training. Therefore, more controllable and more stable ability deficiencies should result in a greater reduction in subsequent trust. That said, negative outcomes due to highly uncontrollable yet highly stable forms of ability, for example, general cognitive ability, call for organizations to review the adequacy of their selection systems. For example, hiring an accountant with low quantitative aptitude indicates a problem with the selection process.